They thought the pressure would break you. But you're still standing stronger than ever. They thought the confusion would silence you. But your clarity is sharper now. They thought the attack would finish you. But it only exposed who was really behind it. What happened in the unseen realm changed everything, and you need to hear this. Watch this video until the very end, because the final part will reveal why the attack failed, what consequences are unfolding right now, and how this next season of your life is about to shift in your favor in ways you didn't expect. They thought the pressure would break you, they thought the confusion would silence you, they thought the sudden chaos, the unexplained fatigue, the strange distance from people, the delays, the betrayals, the mental fog, the spiritual heaviness would slowly push you into surrender, but what they didn't understand is that what was sent to destroy you was intercepted, what was designed to weaken you was reversed, and what was meant to end your momentum only exposed the invisible protection that has been surrounding you this entire time, because when a spiritual attack fails it doesn't just disappear quietly, it reveals something much bigger, it reveals that you were never alone in the battle, it reveals that the opposition miscalculated your covering, and now there are consequences not because you seek revenge but because spiritual laws respond automatically when harm is sent towards someone who is divinely guarded. There was a season where nothing made sense, where small problems felt unusually heavy, where misunderstandings multiplied without explanation, where people you trusted shifted suddenly, where opportunities stalled at the last second, where your energy dipped even though you were doing everything right, and you questioned yourself in silence wondering if you were losing favor, losing strength, losing clarity. But what was really happening was resistance, because whenever someone begins to step into higher alignment, whenever someone begins to elevate mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, there is always friction from unseen places that attempt to intimidate the rise, yet what they did not realize is that your growth was authorized, your protection was assigned, and your name was already covered before the attack was even formed. The attack failed not because you fought perfectly, not because you prayed perfectly, not because you were flawless, but because the assignment against you lacked permission, and anything that lacks permission cannot prosper for long. It may create noise, it may cause temporary discomfort, it may look convincing for a moment, but it cannot sustain itself where there is divine backing, and that is why you are still here. That is why you did not collapse under the pressure, that is why the trap did not fully close, that is why the betrayal exposed itself before it could completely damage you, because protection stepped in at the precise moment it was needed. There were conversations happening about you behind closed doors, there were intentions formed in secret, there were subtle energies directed toward your confidence, toward your progress, toward your peace, but every whisper was monitored, every scheme was limited, every plan had boundaries placed on it, because when someone tries to interfere with a protected path they don't just fight the person, they challenge the authority that stands behind that person, and that is a battle they are never prepared to win. Now look closely at what happened. The people who tried to undermine you are confused, the ones who expected your downfall are watching you stabilize, the energy that was supposed to drain you ended up revealing your resilience, and instead of you being exposed, their intentions became visible, because failed attacks create exposure, and exposure creates consequences, not always dramatic ones, not always immediate ones, but precise ones, calculated ones, consequences that teach without you having to say a word. You may have noticed subtle shifts recently, certain individuals pulling back, certain attitudes softening, certain resistance fading without explanation. That is not coincidence, that is correction, because when harm is projected towards someone unjustly, the balance of the spiritual realm adjusts itself, and often the very weight that was aimed at you returns to its source, not as punishment from you, but as the natural result of tampering with something sacred. Understand this deeply: protection does not always prevent the attempt, sometimes it allows the attempt so that your awareness increases, so that hidden enemies reveal themselves, so that your discernment sharpens, so that your confidence becomes rooted not in people but in purpose, and once that lesson is complete, the attack collapses under its own intention, because it was never built on solid ground. There were nights you felt the heaviness, mornings you questioned your direction, moments you almost reacted emotionally, almost defended yourself aggressively, almost tried to prove your innocence to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, but something restrained you, something told you to stay still, to stay disciplined, to stay focused, and that restraint saved you. Because had you reacted impulsively, you would have stepped outside the protection that was handling it for you, and the fact that you held your composure frustrated the opposition more than any argument ever could. That a failed spiritual attack does something powerful: it upgrades the target, it increases awareness, it strengthens boundaries, it exposes weak connections, it refines intuition, it pushes you into a higher frequency where lower intentions cannot easily reach, and that upgrade is the real consequence. Because now you see clearly, now you sense quickly, now you detach faster, now you move smarter, and the same strategy cannot be used on you again. The ones who attempted interference underestimated the source of your resilience. They assumed your strength was personality, they assumed your calmness was passivity, they assumed your silence was ignorance. But they misread everything, because your silence was strategy, your calmness was confidence, your patience was alignment, and while they were busy plotting, you were being fortified in ways they could not see. Consequences in the spiritual realm are not always loud. Sometimes they look like distance, sometimes they look like loss of access, sometimes they look like opportunities drying up around those who operate with hidden malice, sometimes they look like internal unrest that cannot be explained, because when someone tries to disturb a protected assignment, they unknowingly create instability within their own environment. You don't have to celebrate anyone's downfall to acknowledge that balance has been restored. You don't have to seek revenge to recognize that justice operates beyond your involvement, and that realization brings a different kind of peace, a mature peace, a grounded peace that understands that not every battle requires your participation. Some battles only require your endurance. Think about how much stronger you are now compared to when the pressure first started. Think about how your intuition is sharper, your circle is clearer, your standards are higher, your boundaries are firmer, your dependence on external validation is weaker. That growth did not happen randomly, it was forged in resistance, and the resistance failed because it underestimated your alignment. There is something powerful about surviving something that was meant to spiritually suffocate you. It shifts your posture, it changes your walk, it deepens your confidence, not in arrogance but in awareness, because you now know that if it did not work then, it will not work again in the same way, and that knowledge makes you less fearful, less reactive, less easily manipulated. The consequences unfolding now are subtle but undeniable: clarity replacing confusion, strength replacing doubt, exposure replacing secrecy, and distance replacing toxicity, and while others may not connect the dots, you can feel the shift, you can sense the atmosphere becoming lighter, you can recognize that something tried and failed, and failure in the face of protection always triggers correction. Let this sink in deeply. The fact that you are still progressing is proof that the interference did not receive authorization. The fact that your mind is clearer now is proof that the fog was artificial. The fact that certain relationships dissolved is proof that they were not meant to accompany you further. And the fact that you feel stronger instead of broken is the clearest evidence that the attack reversed its assignment. From this point forward you will move differently. Not paranoid but perceptive, not guarded in fear but guarded in wisdom, not isolated but selective, because once you have experienced protection in action you no longer chase approval from environments that cannot honor your path. The greatest consequence of a failed spiritual attack is elevation, because every attempt to lower you ended up lifting you. Every scheme meant to block you rerouted you to something better, every delay redirected you to a safer opportunity, and every betrayal disconnected you from hidden sabotage, and that is not luck, that is orchestration beyond what the surface can explain. You survived something unseen, something unspoken, something subtle yet intense, and you did not even fully understand it while it was happening. But now in hindsight you can see the pattern, you can see the protection, you can see the timing, and you can see the exposure, and that awareness is a level of spiritual maturity that cannot be easily shaken again. So let them watch as balance restores itself, let them process the consequences of their intentions, let them face the reality that what they tried did not prosper. Because your focus now is not on what failed against you but on what is rising for you, and the same protection that intercepted the attack is the same force clearing the path ahead, and this time you walk forward not confused, not doubtful, not intimidated, but fully aware that anything formed without permission will collapse, and anything aligned with your purpose will stand. And that is why the spiritual attack failed, and that is why the consequences are unfolding, and that is why your next season will be stronger, clearer, and untouchable in ways that no unseen opposition can override. What makes this even more powerful is that after the attack failed, something inside you shifted permanently. Because you are no longer operating from the same level of innocence, you are operating from awareness, and awareness is a spiritual weapon that does not need to announce itself to be effective. It simply observes, discerns, adjusts, and moves with precision, and now you can sense subtle changes in environments before they fully manifest. You can feel when energy is authentic and when it is masked. You can recognize when a delay is protection instead of rejection. And that level of discernment is one of the deepest consequences of surviving unseen warfare. You may have noticed that certain conversations no longer trigger you the way they used to. Certain people no longer have access to your emotions the way they once did. Certain tactics that were designed to provoke insecurity now fall flat. And that is not because the opposition stopped trying, it is because your internal foundation became fortified, and when the foundation is strengthened the same pressure cannot create the same cracks. It simply reveals how solid you have become. The failed attack exposed something else too. It exposed who was secretly rooting against you and who was quietly praying for you. It revealed who fed off your confusion and who genuinely celebrated your clarity, and that revelation was necessary because elevation requires separation, and separation cannot happen without exposure, and exposure rarely happens without pressure. So what looked like chaos was actually a filter, removing hidden sabotage from your path while strengthening the connections that are truly aligned. There is also a psychological consequence to a failed spiritual attack, because the ones who attempted it now have to confront their own frustration. They have to sit with the fact that their efforts did not yield the outcome they anticipated. They have to watch you stabilize instead of spiral. They have to witness your confidence rebuild instead of collapse, and that silent observation creates internal discomfort for them. Not because you retaliated, but because reality contradicted their expectations. You, on the other hand, gained something priceless. You gained proof that protection is not theoretical, proof that resilience is not accidental, proof that alignment carries authority, and once you have proof you stop second-guessing every obstacle, you stop assuming every challenge is defeat, you begin to evaluate situations differently, asking not, "Why is this happening to me?" but, "What is this protecting me from?" And that question alone shifts your entire trajectory. The attack also trained your discipline, because there were moments when you wanted to defend yourself loudly, when you wanted to confront every whisper, when you wanted to expose every rumor, but restraint kept you composed, and in that restraint your character deepened, because maturity is not the absence of provocation, it is the refusal to react prematurely. And by staying grounded you prevented the situation from escalating beyond what was necessary. Now your energy feels different, lighter yet stronger, calmer yet more focused, because surviving resistance without losing your integrity creates internal authority, and internal authority changes how you move, it changes how you speak, it changes how you decide. You no longer chase validation from people who misunderstood you during your hardest season. You no longer overextend yourself to prove loyalty to those who doubted your path, you simply align and proceed. Another consequence unfolding is acceleration, because once interference is removed progress often speeds up, doors that felt jammed begin to open naturally, conversations that once felt tense become smooth or disappear altogether, opportunities that were delayed reappear in improved form, and it feels almost effortless compared to the previous struggle, not because life suddenly became perfect, but because obstruction was lifted. It is important to understand that the failure of the attack does not mean you will never face resistance again. It means that resistance now recognizes you differently. It means that what approaches you must approach with limits, because it has already seen that unauthorized interference does not prosper, and that recognition alone reduces the intensity of future attempts. You also learn not to underestimate subtle beginnings, because the attack did not start dramatically, it started with small inconsistencies, slight misunderstandings, minor delays, tiny shifts in tone, and those small signs taught you to pay attention earlier, to trust your instincts sooner, to address misalignment before it grows into something heavier, and that early awareness will save you from larger disruptions moving forward. There is a deeper spiritual maturity forming within you, one that understands that not every smile is support, not every compliment is loyalty, not every opportunity is alignment, and that maturity does not make you cynical, it makes you wise, because wisdom is simply experience processed correctly, and you processed this season without bitterness, without revenge, without collapsing into self-doubt, and that composure elevated you quietly. The consequences are not just external, they are internal upgrades that cannot be reversed. Your standards are different now, your boundaries are clearer, your tolerance for manipulation is lower, your intuition is sharper, and your dependence on external reassurance is weaker. You validate yourself through alignment rather than applause, and that shift makes you less controllable by external narratives. Some people may never admit what they attempted, some may never acknowledge the energy they directed toward you, but acknowledgement is not required for consequences to unfold, because balance operates beyond confession, and often the greatest consequence is the loss of access to someone they once underestimated, and access once removed is rarely restored in the same way. You survived what was designed to confuse you, you endured what was intended to exhaust you, you overcame what was meant to intimidate you, and now you stand with a different level of calm authority, not loud, not arrogant, not reactive, but grounded, observant, and prepared, and that preparedness is the final evidence that the attack did not just fail, it refined you. As you move forward from here, remember that protection does not mean absence of challenge, it means presence of covering. It means that even when storms form there are limits placed on their intensity, and you have already witnessed those limits in action, so the next time pressure rises you will not panic the same way, you will remember what happened before, you will remember how the interference collapsed, you will remember how clarity returned, and that memory will anchor you. This next season will not look like the last one, because now you move with awareness, now you recognize red flags faster, now you guard your peace intentionally, now you invest your energy selectively, and that strategic movement makes you less vulnerable to hidden agendas, because elevation combined with discernment is difficult to sabotage. The failed spiritual attack did not weaken you, it revealed you, it revealed your endurance, your restraint, your alignment, your unseen support system, and most importantly it revealed that anything formed without authorization cannot override what is divinely structured, and that realization is not just comforting, it is empowering, because it means your path is not easily disrupted by invisible opposition. It means your growth is guarded, and it means that what tried and failed will serve as a reminder that you are covered in ways that cannot be easily explained but are undeniably real. Now as you step deeper into this new phase, you begin to recognize that the greatest transformation did not happen around you, it happened within you, because the moment the spiritual attack failed something recalibrated in your spirit, something aligned more firmly, something settled into unshakable confidence. And that inner recalibration is more powerful than any external victory, because external wins can be temporary but internal authority becomes permanent, and once authority is established within, no outside force can easily manipulate your direction again. You are no longer easily intimidated by sudden silence, unexpected distance, or unexplained resistance, because you understand that not every closed door is rejection and not every opposition is defeat. Sometimes it is simply filtration, sometimes it is divine editing, sometimes it is protection removing what cannot accompany you where you are going. And that understanding prevents panic from taking control the way it once might have. There was a time when you would have internalized the attack, blamed yourself, questioned your worth, replayed conversations repeatedly trying to figure out what you did wrong, but now you see clearly that the disruption was not a reflection of your value, it was a reaction to your elevation, and elevation always exposes insecurity in others, elevation always disturbs stagnant environments, elevation always challenges hidden agendas, and not everyone is comfortable watching someone rise without their control. The failure of the attack also confirmed something important. It confirmed that your timing is protected, because if the interference had succeeded it would have derailed opportunities that were meant to align with you, it would have connected you to people who were not meant to stay, it would have trapped you in environments that would eventually suffocate your growth. And the fact that it collapsed when it did shows that your path is monitored with precision beyond what you can physically see. You may even notice now that certain things you once desired no longer appeal to you the same way, certain connections you once fought to preserve no longer feel necessary, certain environments you once tolerated now feel restrictive, and that shift is not bitterness, it is evolution, because surviving hidden warfare raises your standards naturally, it makes you protective of your peace, intentional with your energy, and selective with your access. Another powerful consequence unfolding is that you trust yourself more than ever before, because when the pressure intensified and you did not fall apart, when confusion surrounded you and you still navigated forward, when doubt tried to whisper and you refused to surrender your identity, you proved to yourself that you are stronger than you assumed, and self-trust is one of the most valuable spiritual assets a person can possess. Those who attempted interference may never fully understand why their efforts did not work, they may blame circumstances, timing, coincidence, or luck, but what they fail to recognize is that protection cannot be overridden by intention alone, there must be permission, and permission was never granted, which means everything they formed was unstable from the beginning, and unstable structures inevitably collapse under their own weight. You also learn the power of silence in this season, because silence allowed observation, silence prevented escalation, silence protected your dignity, and silence frustrated opposition more than reaction ever could. And now you understand that not every accusation deserves a defense, not every rumor deserves attention, not every misunderstanding deserves correction, because truth does not require constant explanation to remain true. There is a calm boldness forming in you now, a quiet certainty that does not need validation, a grounded confidence that does not need applause, and that calm boldness is intimidating to those who once thought you were easily shaken, because they expected emotional collapse, they expected visible frustration, they expected defensive behavior, but instead they witnessed stability, growth, and elevation. And that contradiction is the loudest response of all. Moving forward, you will notice that your decisions are sharper, your instincts quicker, your discernment stronger, because the attack sharpened your perception, it trained you to detect subtle shifts before they grow into larger disruptions, it taught you to step back before reacting, to evaluate before responding, to detach before overinvesting, and those lessons will protect you long after this season has passed. The consequences continue to unfold quietly, access removed from those who misused it, influence reduced for those who operated with hidden motives, exposure revealing intentions without you lifting a finger, and while you may not see every detail, you can sense the correction happening, you can feel the atmosphere stabilizing, you can recognize that balance has been restored without your direct involvement. You now understand something deeply, that not every battle is meant to be fought with force, some are meant to be endured with faith, some are meant to be observed with patience, some are meant to expose what needs to be removed, and once exposure is complete the battle dissolves naturally, and that dissolution is far more powerful than any dramatic confrontation could have been. The failed spiritual attack did not just preserve you, it promoted you, it moved you into a higher awareness, a higher level of discipline, a higher level of emotional intelligence, and those promotions cannot be taken away, because they are internal developments, not external rewards, and internal developments are the foundation for long-term stability. As you step into what is next, carry this awareness confidently but humbly, knowing that protection does not mean perfection, knowing that challenges may still arise, but also knowing that anything unauthorized cannot sustain itself against alignment, and that knowledge removes fear from your future, because you have already seen what happens when interference tries and fails. You are not the same person who entered that season of pressure. You are clearer, stronger, wiser, calmer, and more selective, and that transformation is the ultimate consequence, because the attack was meant to shrink you but it expanded you, it was meant to silence you but it strengthened your voice internally, it was meant to confuse you but it sharpened your clarity, and that reversal proves that what is aligned with purpose cannot be permanently disrupted. So walk forward without looking over your shoulder, without replaying old tension, without anticipating hidden sabotage, because the lesson has been learned, the exposure has happened, the balance has adjusted, and the covering remains active, and the same authority that caused the attack to fail is the same authority guiding your next chapter, ensuring that what belongs to you will align, what does not will fall away, and what tries without permission will collapse before it can truly interfere, and that is not coincidence, that is confirmation that you are guarded, positioned, and prepared for everything that is unfolding next.